My name is J.R. Futrell. I'm the president and CEO of Young Man University. Young Man University is a cultural adjustment consulting firm. We focus on gang intervention and prevention in the Memphis City Schools area, lots of youth detention area. It's a corporation that was born out of a great tragedy, the death of my daughter because of my gang affiliation. She was 6 years old, and from that suffering came Young Man University. My primary goal for young men is to simply modify their behavior. We, in our 5 schools that we're responsible for, inside of Memphis City Schools, we've had an overall 89% reduction in gang activity. At our base school, we've had no gang fights in 5 years. Over 300 gang members have graduated, 171. Thank you. 171 are attending colleges and universities, and we've had 39 to graduate this year. I am a scientist, so I document everything. And in that documentation, my change agent is love. You know, my mom and I used to have the great debate. She said, well, you can't pick your family, and I always beg to differ. So, well, you can't pick your relatives. And relatives are determined by the consanguinity that we share. The bloodline determines if we're brothers, sisters, cousins. But it's by love and respect that you become a family. And that is what we use at Young Man University, simply love and respect, because love and respect overcomes and overshadows everything else. It doesn't matter what color you are, what your gender is, what your preferences are, what your religion is, if I love you and respect you. So at Young Man University, we apply this principle throughout our day, and it changes the lives of young men, because no matter where you are, what you do, I love you. That'll fix it over time. So God has just given me, out of my own tragedy, an opportunity. I'm a gang member from Los Angeles, by the way. I grew up in the life, and a great tragedy overturned my behavior. And from that tragedy, I've been able to create Young Man University. I don't know where my wife went. She must have stepped up. Oh, hey, honey. Well, and I got to say this. She really should receive an award for the greatest public service for marrying me, because I couldn't do this without Melanie. This has been a real struggle. We just purchased our first campus from Memphis City Schools. We're redoing it. My goal is to have a university where this particular population can come, and I can not only address the academic issues, but all the other social issues that they deal with. And Melanie Renee has been my backbone when this is a difficult climb for me. But when it has been more difficult, she's encouraged me. When I couldn't go anymore and revenues were not there, she nodded her head and told me that it would be okay, honey, if you take your money and continue in what you believe you have to do. So I couldn't let this moment pass without just letting you know what a wonderful wife I have. So God bless you, and I thank you.
It is said that nothing is predestined. The obstacles of your past can become gateways that lead us to new beginnings. Today, our first Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Award recipient brings a history. He began a life of violence on the streets of Los Angeles and then later the streets of Memphis as a ranking member of the Crips, a violent street gang. His rough life led to dealing with violence in many forms, people and experiences, including the tragic death of his precious 6-year-old daughter. Today, as president and CEO of Young Man University, he works tirelessly with youth to bring young men out of this cycle of violence. Please join me in congratulating Jeffery Ryan Futrell, our 2013 Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Award winner. Jeffrey represents the commercial appeal in Memphis and will make a few comments.
Wow. I'm overwhelmed. First, I want to thank God for His grace and mercy. And I want to thank my beloved wife, Melanie. She is truly the greatest public servant because she married me. So, I mean, this is really for her. And I certainly would not be able to accomplish anything without her. She's my best friend, my buddy, disciplinarian. She's just my backbone, and I just want to thank her. But real briefly, thank you. At Young Man University, I strive to use every ounce of my negative to build positive in the lives of young men, and I always bolster on my base school, which is Northside High, where we haven't had a gang fight in 5 years. We have had over 300 gang members to graduate, 171 plus attending colleges and universities, and 39 graduated this year. So academics for us is at the forefront of what we do. But when they ask me, Dr. Futrell, what are you doing to end gang violence? I always say, well, I outlove everybody else. And I remember something, I was reminded of something that George Bush said, that he believed in grace because he had seen it. He believed in peace because he had felt it. And he believed in forgiveness because he needed it. And I think when we're dealing with our youth from generation to generation, it is important to remember that they're not doing anything new, no matter how violent or how we may not agree with what they're doing. But every generation had their music, their clothes, their language. As elders, it is our job to simply watch over our children during this time, this season, that they're entitled to. And in that, remembering that once I was young drives my compassion to stay with them. Our children are so used to programs and grants and initiatives coming, but what they're not used to and accustomed to is people staying the course. As much as I like to brag about the good things, I have so many kids that still miss the mark and end up in jail or prison and facing violent situations. So I have to analyze that just as critically as I would the children that are successful. And in closing, what makes us a family is not bloodline. The consanguinity that we share that determines whether we're sisters and brothers, mothers and fathers, aunts and uncles are one thing, but it is love and respect that makes us a family, and it is love and respect that will change this world. Thank you so much.